everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rideshare Etiquette. I am your host, JJ. I will be with you for the next approximately 15 minutes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for listening. Welcome back for those of you who like what they hear and continually listen, and welcome if this is your first time. So, June 1st. Wow, can you believe it? The 6th month of 2019. June. Unreal. So on the stormy Saturday, yes, we've had storms off and on, sometimes severe in some areas. Here in Metro Detroit, in Southeast Michigan, seems to be like the common trend nowadays, where just storms left and right. Doesn't matter if you're in Oklahoma, Indiana, Ohio, or just rain. And then some other of the parts of the country, such as my friend who lives in South Carolina, they can't get a break. This week, last week of May, they've already had triple-digit temperatures. And I'm like, yeah, you can keep that down there. We're good. We'll take the rain over 100 degrees or more. So anyways, how we doing? I hope you're enjoying your Saturday evening. And if you decide you want to go out and have a good time and just party and imbibe, please call a Lyft or an Uber to get you there and to get you back. And it's a win-win for everybody. Driver makes a bit of money and you're not getting a DUI. You know, I don't know how many people have like $20,000 just, disposable income to spend on a DUI, whether it's court costs, attorney fees, impound fees, loss of wages, insurance, cancellations, higher premiums, attorney fees, the whole 9 yards. So thank you once again for listening. So tonight we're going to touch upon, it's not really so much etiquette indirectly it's etiquette, I guess the best way to put it. Last night I was at a fair in Livonia, and I picked up these 4 girls, and it was late at night. It was about 11:30ish. So they got in the back seat of the car, and I'm like, okay, cool, and the light is on, and I look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they look like they're 15, all 4 of them. So I said, do you mind my asking you how old you are? And they're like, oh, we all have ID. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then a little bit later on, the passenger who called for the ride asked me, why did you ask our age? And they said, well, because we cannot transport underage minors by themselves. And I actually asked, hey, is there anybody in here who's under 18? That's actually how I put it across. And they're like, oh no, we all got ID. And I said, well, you look 15. But getting back to the one person who called for the ride, and she's like, since when cannot Lyft drivers can't transport underage minors? And I said, well, since forever. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, I've been driving for Lyft for 3 years, and that's, one of their policies I learned about back then. And she's like, my brother's 16. He uses Lyft all the time. And I'm like, okay then. Well, I said, just to give you a heads up, we cannot, as a driver, pick up a child unaccompanied who is under the age of 18. And I know she was a little skeptical and dubious. And, when I inform parents who have tweeners that want a ride. Excuse me for one moment. I need a bit of water. Mold is high here because we've had so much rain, and I'm allergic to mold, and I can feel it affect every so often when I'm talking. Kind of get that frog in my throat a little bit. So yeah, I get parents who are like, they're wanting their child to be picked up from a friend's house late at night. And they're wanting their child to be transported to the movie theater with other friends. Or, those little instances, and you can tell they're just not 18. They look like they're 10, 15, whatever have you, 14. And I have to inform that parent. I said, I cannot legitimately take your child without an adult. And a lot of them are like, oh, really? I said, yes. And I also tell them, I said, you need to just be aware of the policy. And so a lot of times, I think these are people new to the rideshare platform of Lyft and Uber, because I look at their ratings and they're like 5 stars. And everybody starts out with a 5-star, driver or passenger. So that's what made me think, maybe they just aren't aware. So the more you know. Did you know? Cue the shooting star. Yes, passengers cannot be in Lyft or Uber that are under the age of 18 if they don't have an adult or a guardian with them, someone who's 18 and over, to be there with them just to ensure a safe ride. And drivers, you shouldn't pick up children under the age of 18 just because of the fact that what if you get in a car accident and that child gets injured? I always think worst case scenarios. What if that child has a medical condition where they have a reaction in the back seat of your car, whether they're diabetic, whether they're severely asthmatic, whether they're epileptic, I mean, yes, worst case scenarios. Are they going to actually happen all the time? More than likely not, but the probability and the possibility is there. So it's better to be aware of the policies that Lyft and Uber have. So speaking about the 4 who got into my car last night that I picked up from the festival, one of them, I mean, I'm not going to say one of them, but I'm not going to single anybody out, but I all of a sudden got a very, very, very strong lingering cigarette smell, like they were smoking in the car. And it started to make my throat close up, and I do have asthma. And I finally had to say something because I was like, man, I got to say something. And every time I say something, I always think about how this is going to affect my rating as a driver. So you do have to be careful how you word things. So I just was like nonchalantly asking, hey, is anybody smoking in the car? I'm getting a really strong smell of cigarette smoke. Long story short, they were smoking before they got into the car. Please don't do this. On the behalf of all the drivers out there in Lyft and Uber land, we don't want to we don't want to smell cigarette smoke in our car. And it affects our ratings. We get rated on having a clean car, having a neat and tidy car. And you get into a car as a passenger where it reeks of cigarette smoke from the previous passenger, that current passenger is going to think the driver is actually the one smoking. Whether they're physically smoking at the time that current passenger is in the car. However, it's from the previous passenger. And you could also have the next passenger also could be somebody elderly with heart-lung ailments where they have to be away from cigarette smoking environments altogether. It's back to community guidelines of Lyft and Uber. There's a no smoking policy on Lyft and Uber property, and it's also being polite and courteous in another person's car. If you want to sit there and smoke in your own vehicle, that is your own vehicle. That is your prerogative. Don't know whether you allow people to get into your vehicle and start smoking. Don't know. However, you always have to think, how would I turn it around? Put yourself in that other person's shoes. How do I respond if someone gets into my car that stinks of marijuana, has smelly food, or they are smoking, vaping, and it's all over their clothing? They may not be doing it in my car, but yes, that odor lingers, And it permeates. It gets through the entire car. And it's just, you're being rude and disrespectful and discourteous to your fellow passengers, and I'm not talking about the passengers that are in the car with you at the moment. You might be the only passenger in the car, but it's discourteous to your driver and the next passenger who will get in the vehicle. Please refrain. And if you want to have that cigarette, if you want to smoke that joint, realize that stuff stays on your clothing. It just penetrates the fibers of your clothing. It's in your hair. It's on your fingernails, whatever have you, on your fingernails, on your fingers, on your breath. If you're going to have that, cigarette before you get into the vehicle, at least take a jacket off or something. Don't smoke with your jacket on if it's warm outside, or do something or change your clothes, but I digress. Not everybody will be like that. Not everybody will think along those lines. And that's unfortunate. It really is. You affect the driver's rating, whether you are aware of that fact or not. We want that 5 stars. We want to maintain that 5 stars. And it's so imperative to be able, as a passenger, to get in a car that clean, odor-free, and the driver is professional. You're like 5-star ride all around, So I'm going to wrap this up because I'm looking at the time. It's 6:36 p.m. I would like to go driving. I just want to say once again, thank you for listening to my podcast. Please share, comment, rate, and follow my podcasts. My podcast can be heard and downloaded on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Spreaker, Spotify. I will let you know when I am on iHeartRadio. It's still under review. I haven't heard anything more. Thank you so much for listening. My podcasts are available for download on the iTunes store. And everybody have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. Hopefully you're going to call that Lyft or that Uber when you decide to go out and have a good time tonight. So tomorrow, your car's still in the driveway and you're not in the drunk tank of the local police department. Thank you once again for listening. Have a great night. Practice random acts of kindness and beauty. Peace, love, Woof.